Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you're well today. It is September 18th already, 2023. We have a very special guest speaker for us today. And for those joining us for the first time, thank you. We record this every Monday morning at 9 a.m. We promise to get out by 10 so you can get your day going. We call this the Collaboration Cafe. Everybody's welcome, no matter who or where, what you do, what brokerage you're with, mortgage people, insurance, title, whomever you are. So thank you again for joining us today. We try to kick around ideas that help our business. I know we kick around ideas that help your business every day. And again, we will record this and share it on our YouTube channel in the Collaboration Cafe as well. And what else am I missing anything, Karen?
No, if you are not already a member of our Collaboration Cafe on Facebook, go ahead and join, because we post like open house opportunities or answer questions, anything like that. So we're just trying to help agents helping agents.
Agree. And you know what? There's something to be said about collaboration and getting together with the group. And this is what we do every Monday morning. Don't be afraid to take a screenshot and post it on Facebook and show what we're doing. That's what this is all about, helping agents grow their business. So I put in the chat, Paula, the insurance lady's Word document. If you wanted to open that or save it, I will email to everybody afterwards as well. And it's kind of a PowerPoint of what Paula is going to chat about. I've known Paula for years. She's an affiliate at the Pinellas Realtor organization. For you football fans, she is a descendant of the one and only George Blanda. Yes, she is. Jen asked me yesterday, said, is Tom Brady the oldest player that ever played? I said, no, I think that belongs to Mr. George Blanda, right?
Thank you so much. Yes. Yes, Uncle George played till he was 48, 26 seasons in the NFL.
Wow. Woo. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And also, the photo I have in the chat was from the Pinellas Realtor Organization annual business meeting, and Paula's group won the best table there. So congratulations on that as well, Paula.
Thank you, John.
Paula, the stage is all yours. If you want to share your screen, go ahead. And then afterwards, we will open it up to some questions, okay?
Great. Well, thank you, John. Well, good morning, everybody. I am Paula Blanda, Marketing Manager with Florida All Risk Insurance, but you can call me Paula the Insurance Lady. If you forget that, just call me Gorgeous. Now, don't get too excited. We're going to talk insurance. It's Monday morning. Oh, my gosh. So I sent y'all just a quick agenda of some points to go over, but feel free to take notes. At the bottom of this agenda, you'll see my cell phone. Please enter me in your phone. You can call me anytime, day or night, weekends. I'm like you all. We are working all the time to be here and help you. I wanted to introduce myself as an independent agency. We are Florida All Risk. If you work with us or even any agents, it's great in the state of Florida to have an independent agent on your team. Why is that? We literally work with hundreds of companies. So when you send me a homeowner quote to work on, hey, Paula, can you quote 123 Main Street? We are going to quote it with pretty much any company that's writing policies in our state. And out of all the quotes that we get, we'll send you the most competitive quote. That's why it's great to have an independent agent on your team, especially now in Florida. We do like to help you with marketing opportunities. If y'all are doing anything that we can help you with, we are here to be on your team. Brokers open homes. If you want to put together anything to work with title folks or mortgage lenders, we are here to be on your team. For example, I just helped a title agent and another buddy of ours, a home stager, put on a realtor CE course. So we could work with you all to help you get in with maybe your lenders or title folks or whatever referral sources you're working with. So keep me in mind to be your marketing partner. I won that contest at Pro on Friday, I think because of the overall theme. The theme was cheers to you for all you do to make your clients' dreams come true. That's what it's all about, you guys. You guys are so special, helping people with their huge investments of their home and properties. And I do say cheers to you. And one part of the overall equation, like your Collaboration Cafe this morning, is what will differentiate you in your neighborhood, in your associations, that will make you stand out and be the go-to realtor. How do you become the go-to realtor? You have to have a great team behind you. When you've got a team behind you helping you, you can answer all their questions and provide great referrals. You've got to have your good inspectors, roofers, your lenders. I saw we have Sean here on the phone, title folks, everybody to be on your team. And I'd say especially it's crucial with insurance right now because of the increasing rates due to our insurance crisis, which we'll talk about in a minute. We're finding now the average homeowner rate in the state of Florida is $6,000 for a new policy. So just imagine average homeowners, not including flood, 6,000. So have your team together, and if you guys are looking for anyone, feel free to go on the Pinellas Realtor Organization website. They've got a great tab of affiliates. You can put in an industry you're looking for. Oh man, I need a plumber. You can go in there and type in plumber. They can pull up a plumber for you that you know that works with Pro. So please reach out to Pro on the website if you're looking to build your teams. I do like to bring in a little bit about you and your risk as a realtor. A lot of people won't talk about this, but I like to share this with you. I have in here realtor auto insurance. Well, why I have that in here is because can you believe years ago, and I know y'all probably don't do it much anymore, taking clients around in your personal car, but I had a realtor years back, had the client in her passenger seat, was stopped at a red light. Man, they got rear-ended by a drunk with no insurance, going about 50 miles an hour. It was a pretty bad accident. And of course, the client was sitting in the realtor's car, so she ended up suing the realtor. Huge lawsuit that went on for years. So I like to say, you probably don't do it much, but just to reinforce, we advise that you do not take your clients in your cars. You can always pass that on to the insurance and say, gee, Mr. Client, I'm so sorry. My auto insurance does not allow me to take you in my car. I will just meet you there. But I do like to share that. Another past lawsuit we have here in the greater Tampa Bay area, we had a realtor get sued because she told the clients, oh, you do not need flood insurance. And guess what? They bought the house, and in their first year, they had a flooding event in the home. So they sued the realtor. You don't want to say you do not need flood insurance. Florida is one big flood zone, just some zones are preferred and some are risky. So we advise your patented response to that is, hey, Florida is one big flood zone. We do advise you go ahead and get flood insurance. If you get a preferred flood insurance, the rates are usually a lot less. So that's kind of your patented response. We did have a realtor get sued over saying you do not need flood insurance. Also for your professional liability, I'm sure y'all think about that sometimes now because we are in the most litigious state, I think, as far as insurance goes. So for your professional errors and omissions, your professional liability, and I bet y'all go through this time and time again, but you want to document. We are finding many companies in Florida are getting extremely strict on the professional liability that they will write for brokers and agents. So keep that in mind too as you work. We are in a litigious state. Document. I've got some professional liability companies now that, man, before they'll give you a policy, they want to see everything that you're doing, your contracts, your files. I mean, it's getting really scrutinized right now. So just keep that in mind as you work on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure you have programs in place, but I just kind of like to review that for y'all personally. So don't take clients in your car. Don't say you don't need flood insurance, and document. We're in a Florida insurance crisis right now, very specific to Florida, as you probably know. Have any of y'all been having issues with insurance? I know. Sometimes can really hurt the deal. What's happened is over probably a good 15 years, it's been building towards this. We've had 12 homeowner companies become bankrupt and go insolvent. So just think of the poor clients. They're paying their premium. Insurance company goes bankrupt. What happens if, God forbid, they had a claim? So we've had multiple bankruptcies, insolvencies. We've had a change in our rating system. And now the companies that are here in Florida that are writing are extremely strict. Many of them are closed in certain areas. Underwriting guidelines are the strictest we've ever seen. Another part of this was we've had so many homeowner lawsuits. To give you an idea, from 2019, nationwide in 2019, we had 117,000 homeowners that sued their home insurance company. So nationwide, 117,000 folks sued their homeowners. Out of 117,000 claims in all the 50 states, there were only like 100 of them that were for the 49 other states. The bulk of the over 100,000 claims in 1 year were in Florida. So most other states might get 2 lawsuits a year. We're at over 100,000 a year. So we've had a ton of lawsuits. We've had a lot of fraud built into. I'm sure y'all have heard about some roofers that would go around and kind of target people to put on new roofs and just say, "Hey, we're going to put on a roof for you." So we've had a lot of fraud as well, which unfortunately, even though they put in some legislation, is still going on. So we've had a lot of fraud, a lot of lawsuits, claims, litigation. The hurricanes that came through has led to this big crisis. I think it's going to be another couple of years. It's going to be pretty bumpy until things start flattening out a little bit. And that's why you need to have some good agents on your team. And I suggest not even working with someone like myself, but you want to have a couple other independent agents on your team. So we're in the midst of this crisis that is bringing in some changes. The good news is we do have some new flood insurance companies coming in and homeowner companies. So we've got people coming into the state now, which is great news for us as a whole. The one thing that's hard to address right now is they're coming in and they're new companies, but quite frankly, we don't know what their rates will be. So you might see in the news, oh man, there's 5 new homeowner companies, new flood companies coming in. We don't know their rates there. If their rates are really sky high, I don't know if it's a viable program for us. But on the bright side, we do have folks coming into Florida, opening new companies. And flood insurance is, gosh, I think we've got about 10 new flood companies now that are writing residential homes in our area. So other than the National Flood Program, there might be some options for folks. Homeowners 101. One thing that comes up a lot for you all with the homes, and I think with some of our lenders, we write a policy to insure the dwelling, to replace the dwelling, irregardless of the value or the price of the home. So generally, if you have an appraisal and a sales price or a listing price, it's the home plus the land as the whole packet. We only insure just the home itself. So sometimes you'll see, gee, these folks are paying $600,000 for this home, but you're only writing the homeowner's insurance at $300,000. That's because we're only insuring the home building. That comes up quite a lot, especially some new realtors that haven't seen it. To give you an example on that, let's say someone's buying a little 1950 bungalow out on the beaches. They might be paying $1 million for it because it is on the beach or the barrier island, but this little 1,500 square foot house. Even though they're paying $1 million for it, we're only going to insure that home probably for, let's just say, 300,000 or whatever it might take to rebuild it. So you say, gosh, they're paying $1 million, you're only insuring it for 300,000. That's because we want to replace the house at current building costs. We actually run what's called a replacement cost estimator for you guys. When we work on quoting a home for you, we enter in square footage, garage, pool, whatever the particular home has, and the computers will tabulate the current rebuilding costs for that home. So there is a methodology behind getting those figures for us. Do y'all have any questions at all right now? Anything you want to throw out?
Yeah, Paula, thank you. If anybody does, please raise your hand. You see the reaction button on the bottom right. And first of all, Paula, I want to thank you for just sharing some of those basics. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but what are the most important things we should be looking at when we walk into a property regarding the age of roof, water tank,
Yes.
and electric panels? So
That's a great question, because this is what we're going to hone in on here, and that's here next on our agenda, the 4 points and win this. So what I advise to you all, no matter what age the house, no matter where it is, if you got a deal going and they've signed, get the 4-point and win mitigation right away. And also, I think your 4-point inspector has to be one of the major players on your team. You've got to have someone that knows how to do these forms properly. We have had some inspectors that will put notes on a 4-point, doesn't even have anything to do with the 4-point, but it opens up the can of worms for the insurance and can make the home uninsurable. So have a good inspector that knows how to fill out a 4-point properly, and get those babies done right away, and tell your clients, be very firm, work on the insurance right away. You've got to start it earlier now. And I'll tell you why. What's been happening is now when we write a policy, we have to have an updated 4-point in place to bind the coverage. So we have to have that form. Back in the day, we could write a policy, wait a little bit until we got the 4-point. All those dynamics have changed because the carriers are so strict. So in many cases, we've got to have those forms to upload to the company at the time of binding, or we cannot bind the coverage. So that's why I say get it done as soon as you can.
Go ahead, Joanne.
Yes, thank you. Paula, my concern right now with a deal that I'm involved with is polybutylene pipes in a condo.
Yeah.
Is it impossible to get a loan on a condo with polybutylene pipes?
That is a great question. And to kind of give a preface on this, every insurance company has different guidelines. So one company might say, hey, we accept those pipes. Another company might say, no, we don't. That's the same with roof age, water heaters, locations. Every company has their own guidelines. So there's not one patented answer. A lot of times on those type of pipes, some companies will accept them and some will not. Some accept them if they're manufactured past a certain date or updated past a certain date. So it does get very, very detailed on this. I would say though, with a condo, generally there are some companies that you can write a policy with that you might not have to have a 4-point on that condo unit, and they wouldn't know those pipes are there. Let's just say so they probably could be insurable.
The companies that I did call want to see the 4-point, and this buyer hasn't even given me the 4-point. So
Okay.
does it show up on the 4-point, the polybutylene pipes?
Generally it does, because there's areas there where they check, oh, is there galvanized, is there cast iron, is there copper, has it been updated, has it been replumbed or whatever. Those are specific on the 4 points. There is a company, Universal Property and Casualty, that you can write an HO6 condo unit with, and they do not require a 4-point at this time, but they could be closed in that area where your property is. Where is that property?
Palm Harbor, Florida.
Oh yeah, they might be good. They might be good. If you want, you can shoot me an email and we could quote it for you to see if we can get in with Universal. Then they don't require 4 points, so I think you'd be good to go.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that, because every company, it's very, very specific. I often get asked by realtors, hey, what's the roof age on a shingle roof? Well, one company might say, hey, the shingle roof has to be 5 years or newer. Another company might say 10 years or newer. And by the way, every company has a different roof age depending on the type of roof. Is it a cement tile? Is it an asphalt shingle? Is it a flat, rolled roof? They all have different roof ages. And that's something for y'all to be cognizant of. Like John had asked, what are the things to look at? Of course, the big areas, your roof, your electric, your plumbing, and your air conditioning and heating unit.
Thank you.
Those are your big items.
Tom, go ahead. Unmute and go ahead. You got to unmute, Tom. Thank you.
I've got a duplex that I might be coming up for a listing, and they have aluminum wiring in it. And I've gotten 2 different stories on it. One is I can have an electrician come in and put some kind of lugs on it.
Yes.
And that solves the issue for insurance. And others saying I have to rewire the whole house. Which one is that in your opinion, that you have to?
That is a great question. And it does boil down to what company accepts what. A lot of companies now will require that to be rewired, which is a ton of money right now. However, some companies will accept, they call them Illumicons at the side of the breaker box. And I would say that overall, Citizens, the state of Florida, does accept that.
Okay.
So you could be able to get them through Citizens. And of course, it has to show that's been done on the 4-point. But many companies are no longer accepting that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paula, so what generally age on a hot water tank is? What is the?
Yeah, they're going about 12, 15 years, or if they're older than that, it can get problematic. And that's why I say on here, take photos. If y'all are in a house and you got buyers looking at it and they're ready to put an offer, you don't know how old it is, you can take a real up close picture of the label on the water heater that has the serial number. So we have sites we can go to with the serial number and brand of water heater that will tell us the age.
And
so
same, and I'm assuming same with an electrical panel.
Yeah, electrical panels too. You can look, open those guys up and take a look and see. Some panels overall from the older homes are not acceptable. Just the brand of the panel, no matter what. Some companies just say, gee, sorry, we're not going to insure that panel. Right. Companies now, on that note, they want at least 100 amps in a breaker box. There are some older homes and there are some older condos that have 60 amp breaker boxes. They're pretty much now unacceptable. It's got to be 100 amps or more. So that's something to look out for in some of the older homes, 100 amps or more. Water heaters are getting more and more a sticking point with insurance purely based on their age, even though they're working well. If they're older than 12, 15 years now, some companies just go, sorry, you've got to replace that by a licensed plumber.
Yeah, I
And
know that within our
yeah.
condo complex here, they're requiring the hot water tanks to be replaced every, it can only be so many years
Okay.
because your tank is above somebody else's property.
Right, if you're in a multi-level like where you're at in a condo, exactly. And matter of fact, that's the most common claim that we see with condos are water damage, whether it's pipes or the water heater. So another sticking point. So if y'all don't know the age, just take an up-close picture of that water heater label. You can send it to me and we'll look it up. We do need to know the brand though as well. The brand and the serial number will help us find the age of that. Once again, it can be a point for you to hopefully maybe go back with the sellers on and whatnot, negotiating tool for you. But if you take away anything from today, get a 4-point win mitt as soon as you can, so you know what you're up against.
Yeah.
Uh,
Paula, do you have more on your agenda to go over? Because I've got a few more questions.
oh yeah, no, go ahead, John. Go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I've got a young man who's VA qualified, and he's looking for a multifamily. We found a great triplex in St. Pete, and the seller had their own 4-point done. Okay. Well, we had our own 4-point. The sellers, everything was good on the seller. So do not, make sure you get your own 4-point inspection. Do not rely on the sellers. The seller's 4-point would have, if he used that, would have not been a problem with insurance. Once we did ours, it was a problem with insurance, and it prompted the seller to replace X, Y, and Z, replace the panel, etc. So it's worth the money. Get the inspection. If not, like Paula said, document that you're waiving the inspection or whatever you're doing.
Yes,
we've had a teammate who might be listing one of those little bungalows you mentioned, and the home is probably worth nothing. And it's $1 million property though. The value is all in the land. So whoever buys that property is going to have to bulldoze, or it's not worth saving. So being on the water, they're going to have to go up with it. So that 900 square foot bungalow now is an elevated home. So I'm assuming you must take that into consideration when you're going from 900 square feet to 900.
Yes, matter of fact, we do. And there's a coverage on homeowner policies called ordinance and law. Ordinance and law builds in a percentage for you to help rebuild the home if you got to rebuild it to current code. And that's a prime example. Let's say that house did get flooded. Now with our past storm, they had to rebuild it. When they rebuild it, they'd have to rebuild it that 10 or 12 feet higher based on current codes. So in policies, you have ordinance and law built in, but you can actually pay a little bit more to increase that percentage that will help you rebuild the home. And we take that in consideration, especially on our barrier islands here, where we know when they rebuild, they have to be built up high. But it's called ordinance and law. So that's somewhat built in. But that's a great example too, where let's say they're paying $1 million for that house. Maybe if we insured it, let's say we insured it for $300,000, the lender is giving them $1 million. Sometimes the lenders come back to us and say, "Hey, Paula, we need that $1 million in coverage. We can't do it." There's actually a statute that prohibits a lender from asking to have their loan amount covered. Just to share that, there is a statute regarding that. So, but another great point, the older homes, you can get ordinance and law. On that note, ordinance and law also is the coverage on your policy that pays for your debris. So let's say someone had a little fire and they had a pile of debris to be picked up. You have to have ordinance and law coverage in order to pick up that debris.
Thanks, Paula. Go ahead, Joanne.
Another question. Have you ever heard of an insurance agency asking mandatory to give the date of birth of the people wanting to be insured?
Yes. Some companies now, they want to pull an in-house, what we call insurance score. That is becoming more prevalent in Florida homeowner companies. Auto companies now nationwide for years and years, and even now probably for most of you with your current auto insurance policy, they actually run an insurance score. And it's based with your social, your date of birth. They do pull a soft hit on credit. They look at past claims. They pull in all this data. Now, guess what? The homeowner companies are starting to do that too. where they pull an internal insurance scoring. So therefore they want the date of birth. And if they're buying a new house, they want their prior address to connect them with their current address where they're at. So I personally, as an agent, if you come to me and say, hey, Apollo, quote this, I just fudge in the date of birth just to get a quote. I feel like I think that's very intrusive just to quote people myself personally.
I do too.
Yeah, that is coming more and more, though. Companies are running insurance scores. And what I don't agree with, it can pull up, let's say last year they had a major car accident and their car was totaled. That pulls into their insurance score. So because they got hit by a driver, their car was totaled, that can hurt their insurance score overall and makes their homeowner premium increase. So a lot of it it's just the way of the world, though. It's just how they're doing it. Some companies do not do insurance scoring, some do. So it's a mixed bag out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula and Joanne. Anybody else have a question?
Yeah,
Sure.
Paul, do you feel that they are using age against you?
For auto insurance, yes. As we mature and we're getting up 60s, 70s, 80s, our rates are going to go up just based on our age.
Right.
Homeowners, not so much.
No, okay,
It's definitely for auto insurance. Yep. As you go up, when you get past 60, it just starts going up again. No matter if you're a great driver, your rates are going to go high based on your age for auto.
right,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Oh, yes, you're welcome. So,
Harris, go ahead.
Well, thank you, John. Paula, do you folks insure homes like for investors when we buy them, we remodel them, and then obviously they sit on the market until they're sold? Do you insure those, and are those rates pretty competitive?
yes, and that's such a great question because when we write policies for properties, we've got to insure them based on their occupancy. So let's say these folks are buying a new home, they're living in it, it's their primary home. We write that as hey, it's a homeowner's, it's a primary home. Oh, what if they're secondary or seasonal folks are from Chicago? They're only here 6 months out of the year. We've got to indicate that on the policy. Oh, it is secondary or seasonal. Oh, what if it's a rental home? Is it a annual lease, someone that's living in that rental home full time for the year, or is it a shorter term? We have a lot of Airbnbs and vacation rentals here.
Right.
And of course, those for insurance, if there's a tenant is not in the property for a year, for insurance, we call that a shorter term rental. So that's another consideration. Same with what you do. You buy the house, it's probably vacant when you're working on it, no one's moved in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're doing renovations, maybe it's cosmetic, maybe a little more intense, but there are policies for that because you've got to disclose that and say, yes, it is going to be vacant. We are renovating it. We can offer those to you. The bad news is those rates are usually a lot higher because they consider the risk higher when the home is vacant. But what can happen is, let's say you buy this house, it's vacant, you're working on it, but the agent wrote you a homeowner policy. Well, what's happening now too, which is good for you all to know, when we write a policy now, all the insurance companies go out and inspect the homes afterwards. So you write a new policy today, man, next week the inspector's out there and they come out and do their reports. And let's say an inspector went to the house that you wrote as a homeowner. Oh, but wait, it's vacant and there's all work going on there. The inspector goes out there. They go, gee, sorry, we're canceling you. This house is vacant under renovation. It will be canceled. So the inspectors are all going out now after every policy, which comes back sometimes to be really a pain because when the inspectors go out there, they might find different issues that didn't show up on the 4-point.
Yeah. And guys, think about this for those who have things under contract during hurricane season. Anything that was pending last week, most likely an inspector appraiser went out again to make sure that there was no damage to the property.
Yes.
So
yes, great
I
point.
would just let the seller know that, look, there's a possibility this might get extended for a while because a couple days, a week, whatever it might be. And any seller should realize that that's fairly normal, right?
On that note too, we have a damage form now, like let's say storms just came by. A lot of our companies, if we go to write a policy, they have to sign off and say there's no damage on the house.
Right.
If that's not signed, they will not write the policy.
And Paul, since we've got many new agents to this call, talk about the box and where the named storms are and how that affects writing policies. Where is it? And just basic 101.
Great for y'all to know too, if you're newer in the business, as storms are approaching. Let's even use this Lee that just came by as an example. Lee could be coming by maybe not even going to hit Florida. But they have a big box around the state, kind of like the Gulf and the Atlantic. And once a disturbance or named storm or hurricane gets in the box, companies go, oh, wait, this might be coming here. We're not going to write any policies. We're not going to write. Man, you have a closing and you need a policy in place to close. It might not happen, even if it's not coming here. Then they even wait for a few days, like now with the storm that just hit us here, Adelia. Everything was closed down. Everything gets just like blocked up in our insurance system. No one's writing any policies pretty much throughout the state with that one. And they waited for it to kind of clear and go out of the area. It might have been 2-3 days later, and then companies start opening up. We as agents get the memos. Hey, we're open now to binding coverage. Some of them still have not reopened up in the Panhandle where the storm hit. That happened last year in the greater Fort Myers area. Many companies did not reopen in greater Fort Myers where Ian did all that damage for months and months and months. So it does affect you. I always like to share with realtors, if you've got closings now in the summer or during hurricane season, get that policy bound as soon as you can, because we can usually bind a policy 30 to 45 days in advance. So you can even write one today. Hey, they're closing, October 12th. We could write the policy today, make it effective the 12th for the closing. So you're in place and you won't lose that closing based on a potential storm.
Yeah. What I would suggest to our team is, if you walk into a home and you see something unusual, like I sent to Paula a few weeks ago, I walked into the garage and the electrical panel was directly above the hot water tank. Here's the hot water tank, here's the panel.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that in itself would have been an issue because the panel was not being blocked by the tank. But my thought was, because of the proximity of electric and water,
right? That's right.
When you walk into a building and it just doesn't look right, something about it, take a snapshot, try to get the diagram of whether it be the electrical panel or the data plate of the hot water tank, and get it to Paula for a
we're here to help you with that. And I can say that's a great point, John, because there's a lot of gray areas still with insurance and specifically with inspections. There could be an inspector that goes out to that particular home and he could bring that up and make a note on that. Oh, the electrical box is right by the water heater, blah, 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 and open a can of worms. Another inspector might not even note it and it might not be an issue. So there is still a lot of gray area with these processes. Same with when the inspectors go and visit the home after we write the policy. There's just gray area there. Some might note it, some might not. Maybe the inspector's having a bad day, had a fight with his wife. There's just a lot of gray area there. So on your teams, it's great to have good inspectors that know how to do the 4-point. Many of our local inspectors too are through the National Homeowners Inspection program, they're members, and that even gives them insurance that if, God forbid, they make an error on an inspection, their association comes and backs them up.
Good. Anybody else have a question? Go ahead, Terry.
Hi. It used to be that if you wanted to put flood insurance on your home, you had to wait 2 or 3 months. Are they even putting flood insurance on homes in Florida during hurricane season?
Well, that's a great point. The National Flood Insurance Program, which is the largest flood insurance process we have throughout the United States and in Florida, it's underwritten by FEMA and the federal government. If there's not a lender requiring coverage, there's a mandatory 30-day wait until the policy starts. So let's say now, you've got someone now, they've owned their house, like here in our area, storm just went through, we had a lot of localized flooding. They call, hey, Paul, I want to go ahead and get a flood insurance policy. I'm paid off. I don't have a mortgage. Oh, great. Well, FEMA's going to make you wait 30 days until it becomes in effect. We could write it today. They can pay it today. It does not become effective for 30 days. So that's part of the FEMA National Flood Program guidelines. It's got to be requested by a lender, and then you can make it effective immediately. Now, we also do have private insurance flood companies as well that we work with. They're not as stringent. Some of them, sometimes you can put it on immediately. Sometimes they may give like a 10-day wait. But in many cases, there is a waiting period. Oh, and why did that happen? Because, of course, back in the day, storms were coming. Oh, and people were calling, I need flood insurance. I need flood insurance. So they said, wait, 30-day wait now.
Of course. Go ahead, Harris.
Thank you. Since we're on that topic, my son has a listing in Holiday, and it's relatively closer to water, and looks like good amount of showings. A lot of people are asking, what's your flood insurance? And every time we look at the FEMA zoning and classification, it's X'd. So we tell them it's X'd, and it's public record. You can see in the Mike Fasano appraisal website and all that jazz. So would that be a lender?
Yes, well, that's a great question. And what I'd say, what we found lately on a lot of the sites that are for you all as realtors to look up flood zones, a lot of them have misinformation, not correct information. I suggest, like in this case with this house, if you want to email me the address, we'll go in the FEMA site and we can quote it for you too, but truly confirm what the flood zone is, because sometimes on the sites that y'all go to, they're not exactly correct. And
help me understand, and I do apologize, help me understand, how is the county website not correct? Because this is detrimental to the homeowner, potential buyer, as well as the seller.
Correct.
And that is something that I can't connect the dots with.
Yeah, a lot of the counties have the evacuation zones on there, which is not a flood zone. So people get confused on that all the time. Oh, it's evacuation zone B. People go, oh, well, it's flood zone B. No, that's the evacuation zone. It's not the flood zone.
Okay, phenomenal. We'll probably have something to you today, because we've been asked half a dozen times, what's the flood insurance cost on this? And obviously we haven't shopped for it. The house is listed for sale. So me and my son will collaborate today and see if we can get you, all the particulars on the property.
Yeah, and what happens a lot of times on those sites y'all are looking at, a corner of the property could be in a risky zone, but the bulk of the property is in the X or preferred zone. So you'll pull it up and it will show, oh, it's X, it's preferred. Yay, a lender pretty much won't want the coverage on it. But then we go in the FEMA site, oh, wait a minute, part of it is in a risky zone, so then it is considered a risky zone. That's where we see a little overlap when there are properties that are in different zones. So I suggest to reach out to myself or any of the agents that y'all work with just to truly confirm that. And of course, y'all might want to know that here in Pinellas and Pasco counties, they just did remap our area. So we do have new flood zones. FEMA remapped us, I don't know, about 10 years ago or so, and they just completed another remapping. So zones did change here recently.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Great questions. Go ahead, Karen.
Hey, Paula, what about the elevation surveys? Because someone, a State Farm agent told me that they don't use them anymore.
Yes, when they rolled out the Flood 2.0 almost a year ago now, the new program, what is supposed to have happened is that if we enter an address in the FEMA site, they are supposed to be able to pull into all this information and know, oh, is it on a slab? Is it built up 10 feet? They're supposed to know the elevation, so they're technically no longer needed. However, I can say there's errors in that program.
I was going to say, I mean, where are they pulling the data from?
Right.
And, because sometimes public records are wrong.
I know. We find that a lot with the FEMA program. So if you do go ahead and let's say it is an elevated home, and that will make their rates lower because they are elevated as opposed to their neighbor being on a slab. An elevation can help them at that point where you might not necessarily need it, but if you've got a positive elevation, it's worth maybe getting it if the quotes are coming back really high, because sometimes they just don't pull that information, that it's technically no longer required.
Yeah. And then the second question I had on going back to the wind mitigation, the wind mitigation, the inspector, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, should only be putting items on there that pertain to the house, not exterior buildings, not exterior electrical. Is that correct?
Yeah, for a wind mitigation, that's only for your new roof and opening protection to give you credits. So it's the wind mit is only for credits to prove the worthiness of the home.
And what's irritating to me is this was I had a house on the water with a boat lift. Okay. And the electric to the boat lift apparently wasn't working.
And they noted that on the 4-point.
And he put it on the 4-point, and I questioned him, and it was a very reputable inspector that I've known for 20 years. Right. And I was representing the seller. So I said, that is not a 4-point inspection. So I'm arguing with this person, but I guess, is he allowed to do that? Or can I quote?
Well,
quote
Yeah,
someone.
it's somewhat at their discretion, but I will say, if you look at the questions on the 4-point that is mandated by the state statutes, the state came up with the form. There's nothing in there that asks about that boat lift. So in my mind, why put that on there and open that can of worms? The way I look at it, just answer
Yeah.
the questions on the 4-point. That's why I say every inspector is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because that will hurt them now for the 4-point, because the underwriters see that and they go, oh, wait, it's a red flag for the underwriters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
so I had
doesn't
to
need
jump
be on
through
the
hoops
4-point.
on that one. It was irritating.
I know, I know. It's just, and by the way, so we've been talking about flood and homeowners. Flood insurance is for rising tidal waters.
Mhm.
If your pipe breaks and you get 2 feet of water in your house, it's not a flood. That would go back to your homeowners or condo as a pipe break, water damage. If a tornado ripped off corner of the roof and rain and water were pouring in, once again, not rising waters, that would be a wind claim. So the flood is only for the rising tidal waters.
Thank you, Paula. Any more questions, anybody? I have one last one. Not that this
Okay.
happens as often as it did last year, but how post-occupancy agreement. When the seller is selling their property and remaining in it for a month or 2 or 3 months, what would you, if you were the buyer, is it a good idea to require the seller to have insurance?
Well, this is a very sticky situation. Let's say you sell the house, it's closing today, but the new owners are letting the previous owners stay in there for 2 months until they can move. We know this happens.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, if I were the agent on that, I would have to advise to the new owners, they have to write a rental home policy, because the people that are occupying the home daily are not the owners. Has to be a rental home. If they're living in there, they just have a regular old homeowner policy and they have a claim. When the adjusters come out, and man, everything is so strict, and you get to the nth degree, they look at everything. They would see that, oh, the owner's on here, and they could deny the claim. So what I tell people to do, even though it's a huge pain, write a rental home policy. When those folks move out 2 or 3 months later, then we can put your homeowners in place when you all move in. It is a huge liability for the new owners, huge, if they don't do it the correct way.
Good. Glad I asked. I might have that situation.
Yep. And it's just a pain, but we've just got to do it the way we have to do it. The
John,
other
can
thing
I-
I'd like to just review real quick, I have on here the roofs, the age, the patch permits. Generally speaking now, if any roof, whether it's a concrete tile with a missing tile or a shingle with some missing shingles, companies do not like it and will not insure it. Even if it's been repaired, they do not like it.
Go ahead, Harris.
Just to add on to that, so Paula, when I've had this happen where the seller stayed about 16 days post.
Okay, right.
We didn't write anything, which in turn, was an error on my part as an agent. I should have urged the buyer to do that. I should have advised it strongly. I didn't advise it strongly, and nothing really happened. But there was commotion 2-3 days before the seller is walking out. So would you ask the seller the remainder of the whatever 2 months to be responsible for insurance if anything happens, or does the buyer carry that liability still?
Yes, the buyer has to, because insurance is written for the titled owners.
Understood.
So if they own the house, it's got to be their policy under their name to insure that property. Now, those prior owners that are still living there, they could get a rental policy, by the way, to cover their contents and give them a liability too. Just like if they were renting an apartment. Yeah, but it's got to be written under the name of the titled owner always. That's with any car insurance or business or
Right,
insurance.
but because if they're staying 2 months and the house burns down to the ground, adjuster comes or burns half of it, and they talk to somebody that rents the property. When you mentioned that coverage could be denied and etc.
Yes, it could. Not necessarily that it would, but we just always have to try to do everything the right way. Everything.
I think you have to assume the worst, right? Document everything like Paula said, and great idea for the new owners to get a tenant policy on the sellers who are staying for 2 months.
Yes.
John, go ahead. Stage is yours. John Holtzfield.
Yeah, Paula, one of the clarifications I wanted was the home is insured, but not the properties. I mean, what if something happened on the property, a neighbor trips and falls on your property and they go to sue you? How is that covered?
That's a great question. On most typical homeowner rental home, and even condo policies. Included in them is a liability. The general limits of liability on those policies, Citizens only offers up to 100,000. Most companies give you 300,000. So let's say you do own a home, you have a policy with ABC Insurance, you've got a 300,000 liability. Like what happened to me, a little girl was in my front yard swinging on the palm tree. She fell and she broke her arm in my yard, and I had a heart attack. So, man, my neighbors are going to sue me. This child was injured on my property. That you do have a built-in liability. Most companies at least 100,000 with Citizens and 300,000 as a normal. So liability is built in, and that's a huge factor right now in what I call the sue me state of Florida, because what our attorneys tell us, anybody can sue anybody for anything, anytime. You just don't know. There's also, y'all probably heard this term, an umbrella liability. That's where you can get like $1 million liability and more to go over what you currently have. So you can buy extended liabilities too for folks. We have a lot of like highly affluent folks here in our area, doctors or whomever, and we always want them to have an umbrella liability to give them even more liability to protect them.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paul. Any last questions, anybody? Paula, why don't you give out your cell number, please? And email?
Yes, it's here on the bottom of the form, but it's 727-565-5108, 565-5108. You guys call me anytime, evenings, weekends, if you have questions.
Let me share this with you. And we want to work with people that know what they're doing and respond, right? And I will tell you that Paula has always done that for me and Karen, and never, wondering if she's going to get the policy per se, but trying to provide helpful information to me. So Paula, I really appreciate that. And that's why I'm so glad we had you on today. So
thank you, John. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time this morning. Call me anytime. Happy selling out there. And I look forward to being on your team and helping you close.
You're part of the team. And everybody stick around for a few more minutes. We're just going to open up to different questions. And Paula, you can hang out too and maybe learn something about real estate.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
No
okay,
problem.
You guys. Thanks a
All
lot.
Right.
Okay.
Take care, Paula. Anyways, let me make sure I can take Paula off so she doesn't, in case she leaves, doesn't kill the video. Anybody have any questions? Anything going on that you'd like to discuss in the next 10 minutes that we're here? Anybody? Go ahead, Karen.
Let's just remind everyone. So we've started in-person training. We're going to try and learn how, or try to figure out if we can live stream it for everybody that is not local to us. But second Saturday at our office, 2323 Curlew Road in Palm Harbor, Dunedin, it's really Palm Harbor. We will have trainings. Michelle created a flyer, and I'll see if I can find it and post it in the chat. But we've already started them. And if there's something you do want to learn about, just, shoot me a text or shoot John a text or anyone. And, we'll get a training on that. So we're really we're trying to, now that the market's down and everyone's struggling a little bit, we're trying to think outside the box and do different trainings that will help us increase our business. Okay, because obviously the goal is to sell more houses. John.
There's always open house opportunities if somebody wants to do it. Tom's got 2 beautiful listings. I might have 1 or 2 coming up as well. Just let us know. Use that Collaboration Cafe Facebook page to post it, look for things. Text me or Karen as well, and we'll try to help you as much as we possibly can. To the new people who joined us today, Harris, thank you so much for joining us and the brilliant questions and adding in. And who am I missing here? Lewis and Tyler, always good to have you on the call. And our friend Ashley, who's working from a model center somewhere, so that's why she's not on camera. So thank you.
Michelle posted the PDF in the chat, so go ahead and get that.
Click on that and and join us every second Saturday.
And it's open to everyone. Anyone that's that wants to learn and train, that's in real estate is welcome. Okay, so if you want to bring one, feel free.
Exactly right. Okay, good call. Thank you all again for being here. I will get this on our YouTube channel and send it back onto the Facebook page. Thank you so much for being here, all of you from all over, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace.
Hey, John, just a quick shout to Jim Ong for inviting me and my son Adnan here on this. I think he deserves a lot of credit, and I really do appreciate that. Hopefully I can attend all of these. I'm sure Adnan can, and I look forward learning from you guys and collaborating. Thank you very
Please,
much.
you're more than welcome. Invite your friends and guests and colleagues and whatever it might be. So please do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, John. Appreciate
Bye,
it.
guys.
You're always welcome.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah. See ya.
Let me get my keys. I got the carpet in my trunk. Oh, perfect. Well, I wasn't sure when I was looking around for it. Let me end this meeting real quick.